Welcome back, friends. You know, it's not exactly the happiest moment when you come on and you have to give information that really should not make sense. It should not connect the way that it does, because you think that people would be more forthright. And you realize that as time progresses, people have not learned. And no matter how many times you might even try to warn them, continue to tell a baby, don't do that. It's a baby. The baby doesn't know. You still have to give some more examples. You have to show the baby. The baby has to watch you do it. And then the baby eventually learns. But we're talking about grown-ups here, okay? Now, my mother figure knew too much. And that's the reason why they decided to, take her out. You see, before that, what they do is they threaten her. And they'd end up putting her in a mental ward. I'm going to be honest with you. That's where she met Cynthia, my father's older sister. That's where they met. Because with the blackmail and the always trying to make a person do exactly what you do, what you want them to do. You see, because I was in my mother figure's care, and everything was put upon her. My father figure would promise he would send money, he would give money, but he would always come up short. And with him coming up short, my mother figure that's how she ended up getting involved with other people, because they would actually offer and try to help her. They see her with these 3 kids and they wanted to help her. But the funny thing was, no one would ever think that her sister would go against her in the way that she did. Okay, Shirley. Okay? So what Shirley did was, she was the one who came up with some of the plans as well. She and Joe Yusef Myers would collude together, and they'd come up with these plans, and they would get everything together. So between the two of them, if my mother figure did not collude with them, or she didn't agree, or she didn't do her part, they'd send her to these places, and they would purchase people, meaning pay people, to actually sign over the paperwork and have her admitted. Now, the thing about it is, when you admit a person into such a place, no matter what the place looks like, I don't know all that part, but what I do know is, with her being separated from them and being medicated and all this other stuff, she would have that time separated from them. In some cases, it was peaceful, because she didn't have to worry about them, but in a way, she had no choice but to deal with them. And it was difficult for her to have to deal with them all the time. And she tried to forgive her sister, just as I've tried to forgive my younger sister, who's mixed up in this mess as well. You see, people sometimes want power and they want money, and money is the root of all evil, as they say, but it's the people who are pushing that money that cause more confusion. So with all these different plans that they came up with, I was supposed to be unalived so many times. Between the car accident with me sitting on Uncle James's lap, and then driving really fast and getting into this accident with me hitting my head and actually messing with my that's how I ended up with part of that overbite in the first place, between the windshield, okay? Now, this is childhood, okay? As time progressed on, with them collecting this money all the time, finally, the plan was, it was supposed to be split 3 ways, but my father figure would get the money and he would spend the money. He would be like Joe Ferguson, investing money in the wrong places, gambling, and the money would be gone, and nobody would know exactly where the money went to. So then Shirley decided she was going to play a more active role so that she would get the money, and she would be there when he received the money, so they can go to get the documents, and they can go ahead. I mean, they claimed that I wasn't even alive at one point. So it's like the investigators were trying to figure out how are there 2 children, because there were 2 different birthdays, you see. When you look at a situation and you look at a family where people just want money, Shirley ended up in Mississippi because she was trying to escape and separate at one point, because they thought they were caught during that time. Then she eventually came back. You see, they had a birth certificate for Shirley's dog as well. So, I mean, a social security card for her dog as well, so that money, when the government was going to give money, she was able to get money 2 ways. You see, I don't know who they were contacting, but they were getting these different birth certificates and all sorts of things over and over again. My social security card, a copy was made on her copy machine at the house in Plantation. My high school diploma was laminated on a card. My college degree was laminated on a card, so that when I went to different jobs, I'd have proof of them, and they were already in a laminate form, in a smaller version, so I could carry them around. So that's where Joe Ferguson comes in as well. You see, they came up with these these schemes. If Joe Ferguson had actually succeeded at unaliving me, they were going to take Joe Ferguson, they were going to take him out afterwards. You see, the funny thing about it is, everybody's playing a game, but when you play a game with thieves, you got to know that they coming to get you too, okay? So everybody's playing these little games. Joe Ferguson was the main man trying to. Shirley was coaching him to go into my account. How she told him how I would fall asleep and be relaxed because I worked out all day, or my schedule. So he'd come in at different times. You see, everyone had their own game plan, and with all of these different people playing their games, then they said, okay, you know what? Because Kaya is the sister and she's been closest to her, she'd never suspect Kaya. So get Kaya to marry, and they coerced her into getting married or whatever under my name, and they went ahead and they thought they were going to live happily ever after. Now, see, the thing is that, I don't know, somehow there's a Dominican girl mixed up in this as well. Between she and Kaya, they played their own separate roles. But you see, at the end of the day, when you look at the different pieces in this puzzle and you try to put the puzzle pieces together, you've also got to look at the way that people think, okay? Cynthia's always been the mastermind of a person who's been able to talk her own children to doing things, and she's also been the one who will blackmail you in a heartbeat to get money. You see, you got to look at the individuals at hand. When you know who the persons are, when you see what they're capable of doing, then you can put their piece of the puzzle and you can match it, okay? Match up who's capable of doing what. Shirley Jenkins, now she's another one. The guy she was dating, the cable guy who was actually working at the complex, she wanted to get him involved, and she also wanted to look good because, she's an older woman, and she thought maybe, this guy would help her. But I don't think he played the part that she wanted him to play. That's where Joe Ferguson comes in. You see, if you sleep with a person, then it's harder for you to come to the person and admit, hey, I did this wrong or whatever, to the person when you want to apologize later, because now you played your part. And now everybody's saying, well, the person's never going to accept you now that they know that you slept with a relative of theirs, So all these different people playing their different parts made it very easy for the investigators to probably really put all this together, But at the end of this day, when you look at all the individuals who play the different parts, and you see how people could be so eager to unalive or to take advantage of other people because they felt as though they deserved the money. You see, at the end of the day, when you look at any investigators or what have you, any person who's looking at the actual case, not the investigators, but the people who are investigating, you got to look at what they're capable of doing. Now, all of them were saying that I was the crazy one. But you know what? I'm glad that you allowed me the peace to let me just enjoy my peace so that I could actually be able to put those puzzle pieces together. Because in all honesty, with all the individuals that played their different part, you would never expect, Royal, may his spirit rest in peace, was my father's personal banker. And he was in love with my father, And I don't know how people couldn't see that he was in love with him. There's also a whole nother component to that. But once Royal passed away, They needed a special banker, someone who would be able to help out with these checks that were supposed to be coming for me, where they would be splitting this money up with each other. That's probably where the money came from to help me get my car in college. When I actually that was pretty much close to the ending of college. It's really amazing to me how people would act as though they did so much for you when they've been living off of your money all this time. Sending a man, to his I don't even know if I can put that in it, because you know what? I'm not so sure about that part. So I'm just going to leave it at this. If you did not want your hands to get dirty, you should not have played in the mud in the first place. One thing that I believe that my mother figure did not do, if she had really loved herself early on, she probably would not have gotten involved. But, God places people with different individuals so that they can move forward and go on. She said something beforehand when she stayed with me for a month before she left here. She went back home and then you guys decided to unalive her. She said she wanted to just get this over with because this would be the last time that she would ever have to deal with him. And she kept saying him. I thought she was talking about the man that she was marrying. I had no idea she was talking about Yusef. I had no idea, and it just came to me more recently. It's important that you realize that who it is that you're dating, because people can be so unpredictable. But if you can read their energy, then you'll really be able to see that person that you've been trusting, he's not the person that you think that person is. You know why? Because you think that person, you're looking at the person in your own perception. You're seeing them as how you might do it. People are not going to do things the same way that you'll do it. People will do things all sorts of ways, but it's not necessarily the way you would do it because their heart might not be in the same place. And that's why you have to make sure that you're using your heart and you're learning how to love yourself so you don't get yourself mixed up with people who would make such mistakes. Or should I say, this is not a mistake for them, because they thought that they could be God and they thought that they could walk in God's footsteps and make choices that mean other people wrong and mean them well. You see, they thought they were all going to be going to the bank. They're making up plans right now on how they're going to get out of town when they know good and well their behind should never touch something that did not belong to them in the first place. Identity theft, Ubers and Lyfts, they're sitting up here using those type of vehicles, Cash Apping. They got a special account that they're using for Cash App as well as another account to overseas account. And this other account they're using to pay people to do all sorts of things. Okay? And let's just make this very clear. You do not have the authority to take anyone out. No one has the authority to take anyone's life. So if these people want to collude together, and now they got a cousin involved hanging with my younger sister to do all sorts of things, your body is supposed to be your temple. But I'm not even going to go into that because you know what? We've all made our own mistakes. But I'm going to tell you this. If I'm with somebody, I care and love them. I don't just sleep with people just because I want some money. Are you kidding me right now? Just like people ask me to get married to get citizenship in another country. Absolutely not. No, thank you. If I'm not marrying for love, I'm not marrying at all. And you guys can go ahead and take that to the bank and cash it in, because you've been cashing my money all this time. You think you're slick, but you know what? God sees all. Indigo Moon. And it's lovely being you too.